Welcome back to another HX Stomp XL video. My name's Alex. If you're new to this channel, I've been a long-time HX Stomp user and I was lucky enough to get a hold of the XL a little bit early. And the point of this video is just going to be a quick walkthrough. I'm going to introduce to you preset switching mode if you're not familiar with it. We're going to go over some global settings, how you can make use of it on the XL, and also just talk a little bit about the theory and why preset mode might be the one that works for you versus snapshot or foot switch, or why it might not be. Before we get started, if you want to grab my free bundle of HX Stomp XL presets, I just finished putting it together. Essentially, we've got 4 different presets in there, and then I've duplicated them. So I've made a version for humbucker and single coil guitars. I always do that. And these are the presets I'm going to be using to walk you through preset switching mode, and then in the next video we'll do snapshots, and then the next video we'll do foot switch mode, and then the last video we'll do what I've decided to do, which is a little bit of a combination of snapshot and foot switches. So a lot of videos to come this week, especially on the HX Stomp XL. Let's talk a little bit of the theory behind preset switching mode. Now, the people that are going to want to use this mode as opposed to the others are the people that are using very DSP heavy effects. So if you want to make use of a dual amp setup, or for instance the new polyphonic pitch shifting effects that Line 6 put out in update 3.0, those are very DSP heavy. And if you've done a little bit of research on the XL, you'll know that it doesn't have any more digital signal processing power than the original Stomp. The main difference here was just that they added a ton of extra buttons to be able to get the actual most out of this unit instead of having to go and get some external controls. So we still have the same DSP limitations. However, with the addition of these up and down buttons, we can assign them to page between presets, go between preset banks. We'll get into that in a second. So the main pro to going with preset switching mode is that you're going to be able to have a large collection of different sounds that you can pull from at a moment's notice. The downside is that there's a slight delay when you switch between presets, and it should be noted that Line 6 addressed this in the 3.0 update. They came out with something called preset spillover, which essentially cuts the DSP of your unit in half, and it restricts you so that basically it can cue in a crossfade between the 2 presets when you switch. The smaller units don't have this. So that's only for the Helix LT, the floor, and the rack. You should know that if you're going to use preset mode on one of the smaller devices, you're going to have a quick drop in volume, usually only like a half second or so, as the new preset loads. At this point, I'm going to move my camera over and we're going to get a good look at the screen on the HX Stomp XL, so you can see all the recommended global settings I would have for setting up your unit like this. If you were able to catch my introduction video on the XL from earlier this week, you'll know that the page up and down buttons here have a ton of different functions that we can use them for. So we're going to enter global settings here, press page buttons together, and then enter global. Alright, scroll over to preferences. First thing you'll see is that we can set up, if you're going to use an external controller in preset mode, I would advise using this either to scroll between snapshots or to engage foot switch 7 or 8, so that as you switch between presets, you actually have a couple different options for sounds that you can go with. You'll also want to set up the preset numbering system to be 1A to 32D versus just set it up as 128 numbers. What this does essentially is it'll allow it to operate properly in banks. So you can use these, and I'll show you how to set this up in a second. We'll use the page up and down buttons to switch between banks, and then we'll have different presets here. So we're going to have bank 1A, preset A, bank 1B, one bank C, and D, and then you'll be able to scroll between snapshots within that preset with the external foot switch buttons. This controller is by Rockstock. It's been pretty great. Or stomp switch mode, like I said. One of the cool features here is you can set the page up and down buttons to function as stomp switches. So in this case, you would have foot switch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if you wanted a total of 8. For preset mode, this control is not going to be too useful. I'm just going to leave it at 4 because when we get into using snapshot mode, it's going to be very useful in that sense. Now this control is a very special one. Preset mode. When you switch presets, when you're in preset mode and you're switching between them, this is going to say, do you want to stay on the preset screen? Do you want to stay on the bank screen? Or do you want to switch to stomp switch mode? And this is going to be set up based on how you yourself want to use the unit. Momentary is great. Latching is great. Essentially, momentary is for the people that are going to want to scroll between presets. We'll select a preset here, and then it'll display stomp switches. If you wanted to go and use latching mode, right? When we go between presets here, select a preset, it's gonna stay on this screen. So you can have a preset set up for your overdriven sound, for your clean sound, for your lead sound, pitch shifting, whatever. And that would make sense in that sense if you're using very DSP heavy effects. I'm gonna go with latching, I think, for this video. This makes sense. Now this is also a very important mode to set. You're gonna wanna set these up and down switches in banks. If you wanna control presets, that'll work great in snapshot mode in my opinion. Snapshots works great in foot switch mode, but for this video we're going with banks. You can also change the configuration, I guess, if you want up to go down in the presets or whatever. And then lastly, if you have an external controller, you can set it up to do different things. Right now it would just be doubling presets up and down. I would personally, in preset mode, set it for snapshots maybe. So as you go between different presets, you can scroll between 4 snapshots, or just have a couple stomp switches. So if you have one preset set up, for example, for your clean sound, you can have access to a delay or a chorus, etc. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do with this. Now, if you're using a lot of delay effects, you might want to consider setting the tempo to either be global, so when you tap it in once, it doesn't matter what preset you're on, the tap tempo is not going to change. Or if you're someone that's playing a very specific song set list, if you're setting a preset up per song, you might consider setting this up per preset then. So you go to a different preset, the tempo is reset. When you go for that, you can now set the default tempo. So when you make a new preset, what is it going to be? 115. And then you can change that per preset. Let's quickly take a step back to the expression pedals here. This can also be useful. So if you're using an external expression pedal with the unit, you can have it set up so that no matter what you're doing, switching presets or whatever, the expression pedal setting is going to stay the same. So if you're controlling volume on one preset and wah on another preset, if you leave that in heel down position, whatever the helix is interpreting that MIDI value as, that CV value I should say, it's going to stay the same. Versus if you wanted to have it change per preset or snapshot or whatever, it might be useful to have it set at preset. It might be useful for global settings. That's something you'll have to explore and think about a little bit for your own settings. So we're going to take a look at HX Edit on the computer, and we'll get a top-down shot again and be able to see how this whole thing works together. All right, so in HX Edit, the first thing you'll notice here is we've got 8 different presets. EGS at the front, that stands for electric guitar single coil, electric guitar humbucker for EGH. 4 different presets each: Princeton, Matchless, JCM 800, and a dual rectifier. Each one is set up with 4 stomp switches and 4 snapshots. So the snapshots are going to deal with dialing in your dry sound, anything to do with overdrive, amp simulation, compression, and then the foot switches are going to engage all of these extra effects that we have here, some delays, modulation, another modulation in front, and I usually like to cue up some parameter changes in the reverb block as well. So you get 2 different reverbs, you're only using 1 block though. So let's hear snapshot 1 in the Princeton. Switch to snapshot 2, a little bit of crunch. Snapshot 3, plenty of overdrive to it. And finally, snapshot 4 is our lead sound. And then we'll switch to the matchless. I could go through these, but you might as well just do it yourself if you feel like getting the presets. By the way, on the website, for some reason, Wix doesn't let me give a product away for free. However, I can create a coupon that is 100% off. So you'll need to use the coupon code FREE. When you go to download it, you'll go to the website, scroll to the bottom of the Helix page, and then just enter the coupon code FREE, all capital letters on checkout. Let's skip to the Marshall preset real quick. Let's take a look at the device, and the way we have it set up, just like I did with the global settings, is the up and down controls here are going to go between banks. So we can have 4 totally different amp sounds as I've set it up. The Marshall, the dual rectifier, matchless, and a Princeton. And we can switch to the single coil presets if you wanted to as well. Additionally, you could take this preset and set it up, the Marshall one, with a bunch of different sounds if you wanted one that's harmonized, one that is pitch shifted down a half step for those songs that you're doing, or a whole step. You can do that. So you can create an entire bank just of the Marshall preset. You can say this is stock, this one is the one that's pitch shifting down a half step, whole step, and then this one is harmonized in thirds or something for a solo, or harmonized in fifths, whatever. And you can just go between that. When you need to change banks, you do that. You hit another one, and now we're on the single coil preset, even though I'm still playing a humbucker guitar. So let's go to the matchless, and we're going to use the external controller, which I've set up to scroll between snapshots to get us the sound that we want. Yeah, and something that people overlook is if for any reason you wanted to change the function of these two, you don't really need to go through any menu diving. Just hold them down, and we're going to switch to scrolling between presets with this switch now, or we can actually access snapshots. You can see that changing up there. Let's go back to bank mode. If you press them quickly and release at the same time, we've now jumped temporarily into snapshots. Now, there is a global setting if you want it to stay on the snapshot screen. That is, like I said, when you can set the preset mode up for momentary or latching. There was a control right next to it that said, what the heck, I'll just show you. There is a control, if I can find it real quick, that says snapshot mode momentary or latching. So in other words, that was set up in momentary. Once I engaged the snapshot, it went back to the preset bank, or I can set it to latch. So you can press the snapshot, and then from there you have the foot switches set up here to go back and forth between the different 4 snapshots. I guess that just about wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button so that the algorithm is more likely to recommend it to someone else that might benefit from seeing this. The HX Stomp, you can check it out at zounds.com. They hooked me up with it. They worked together with Line 6 so I could get it early, and if this video has been helpful, that'd be a great way to support Zounds for making this video possible, and myself. That's an affiliate link. I'll link it down below. You can check out all my free and paid presets on my website there, and if you're looking for more Helix tips, I've got a ton of them on my channel, so maybe check them out once you're done here. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions on it. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to you in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next video.